So, flight simulation is getting crazier and crazier by the minute every day. And we're getting so much hardware for FlightSim now. So much specific hardware for Airbus and Boeing and for specific things. And FlightSim Factory just stepped in the game with a very, very nice piece of hardware for you Boeing guys. And it is absolutely gorgeous what they've done with this. Let's go ahead and unwrap it from the box. And let's not talk too much about it, but here we go. This is the FlightSim Factory. I would call this the Ignition Pro. And it's basically the fuel cutoff switches, the parking brake, and also the stab cutout switches. And just out of the box, you could tell the size of it. Very nice. Nice and weighty. Nicely printed or 3D printed or manufactured. Looking really well. Already has the USB cable attached to it, USB-C, and a little bracket system that we're going to be talking about here shortly on that. That's built into it. However, let's go take a look. Parking brake, really simple. You guys know what a parking brake is, right? Parking brake on, parking brake off. Also have the fuel cutoff switches for the Max, not the older style where you pull up and push up and then put back down. This is literally a switch. And as far as I know, it's lit up in here. We'll take a look at that once we get it attached to the sim and in my sim setup. And also have the stab cutout switches. Yes, for all you Max people, if you ever have MCAS run away on you, this is what you're going to need to stop the MCAS from running away. I know it's not simulated in the sim, but this is what this is for. Stabilizer cutoff switch, so it doesn't run away automatically. You're going to have to manually trim the airplane by yourself. It's very simple hardware and really nicely executed. They have the FlightSim Factory lettering stenciled in it, and the way the finish is done. And in the back here, have the USB cord attached. That's it, nothing else, really simple. But this right here is going to be worthwhile for you guys for your attachment. It's a quick disconnect system that has tracks or detents in there that this slides into. So when you're mounting it, the idea is you mount it underneath your desk or underneath your table or whatever you're going to be using. And then when you're done, you just slide this piece in to slide it on and off. And potentially down the road, they could probably even make an Airbus one that you could swap out and leaving the bracket attached to your desk or something like that. But that's it. No more talking. Let's go ahead and put this in the simulator and see what it looks like and how you set this thing up for it to be used in Microsoft Flight Simulator and explain. Let's go. All right, so here's my Boeing setup. Completely cold and dark. Nothing is on, not the computer, not the monitors, nothing. But more importantly, here's my throttle quadrant right here. I have this throttle quadrant. This is from Thrustmaster. Plus I have modded handles for the thrust reverser. And in the airplane, it goes somewhere right here. The fuel cutoff switches and so forth. I had my radio here, sitting here. I'm going to have to rework this entire thing because as you can tell right now, if I introduce the throttle quadrant here, we're going to end up with a problem. So what I want to do is figure out how I'm going to mount this. I don't mount it on my desk up here at all because it's not going to work. I want it down here where the throttle quadrant is. I'm going to have to figure a way out how to get this down here, get the radio mounted, the radio panel mounted as well, and also have everything just look uniform right below the throttle where you have the fuel cutoff switches and the parking brake like it is in the real plane. So let's go figure out how we're going to make this work here. So I've gone ahead and removed the Logitech radio panel and also remove the extra plate that I have here. There's an extra next level racing plate that was mounted here. So now I have a clear path to get this onto here in the exact spot that I need it to be. And we can use and mount it with the double-sided tape, which we're going to do. And that's going to be in the perfect spot. This stays at the same height. This is a little bit below. The only problem I'm going to run into for myself is get the radio panel underneath that somewhere. I want my radio panel to be there for the Boeing. And so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge figuring how to mount this stuff. But hey, this is part of my flight simming journey, is how to set up your thing to customize it the way you want. That height to me seems fine for the switches to where they need to be. Parking brake, just like something similar to what the real airplane setup is like. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this onto here with the sticky pad, get it up underneath, and then we can go from there and figure out what to do with the radio. Time for the big installation. So first things first, before we figure anything else out, we're going to get this on here and get it underneath our throttle quadrant, and it's a simple system. Very, very simple system. We're going to peel 1 and 2 3M sticky pad. That is sticky. And we're going to just go ahead, and underneath here is clear. We have a clear path under here. And all we're going to do is just going to stick this exactly where we want it to go. And we're figuring something like there somewhere. And let's go ahead and go get this bad boy up underneath here as close as possible. There it is. And we're just going to stick and hold. So it's sticking down right now. Just going to give it some squeeze. Let me get this out of the way. I haven't mounted that yet, but it's sticking to the panel here, this panel, and that should hold it in place. Now we could slide out the other piece here. So now the bracket is missing. The bracket is underneath this panel right here. That old bracket is there. So it's kind of like a quick release or a quick change or whatever you want to call it. Go ahead and press this down with my hand so it stays connected. And then we can slide this back in whenever we want to have our, there it is, that's it, you're in. It's as simple as that. You can slide this out, good, or slide it back in. There you go, good to go. All the way back in, it clicks in, it's holding, no problem. Now we can remount our throttle quadrant right where we need it to be. And you have a perfect install. Last step is to get my radio panel back in here. I need to figure out a way to get my radio panel down here. So we have the radio, we have the fuel cutoff switches, and we have also the throttle quadrant there, but loving that. That actually looks very clean. I like that. Wow. And just like that, through the magic of screws and double-sided tape, we have this entire thing mounted up right now, which we're about to connect to the sim and get this bad boy up and running. We're loading up Microsoft right now. We're going to go ahead and start the configuration of this thing. We got to program a few buttons here in Microsoft directly, or I think you can also use MobiFlight to do that, but we're not going to be using the MobiFlight today. We're going to be working with this. So now we're sitting in the flight deck, and here is the position of that fuel cutoff switch, and man, I'm telling you right now, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. Mounted nicely, I must say. Did a good job with that, with the magic of screws and sticky side tape. We got everything in the position the way we want it, so we can have our hand on the throttle and also on the park brake and fuel cutoff switches, which we're going to go ahead and configure that right now in the sim. But as you can tell, this fuel cutoff switch does light up in the sim when you have that running. The lights come on there. The only thing that's missing would be like a park brake light that's in the real aircraft, but it's okay. And we have also the stab trim cutouts, which we hopefully never have to use on a Max. But the fuel cutoff switches have lights in them, and that's really, really a nice touch from the developer of this product. But it mounts and sits nicely below my Thrustmaster quadrant. I know a lot of people have the honeycomb quadrant, but the Thrustmaster quadrant works just as nice. All right, so we're in the sim now. We're in the iFly Max. That's the airplane we're going to be setting up with our switches and joystick. Right now, if you move anything, nothing works in the airplane at all. If you move any of the switches, so we're going to make everything work here. And all you got to do is really simple. You go over to the settings in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it's going to show up under controls. And the specific control, it's going to say generic USB joystick. So what we're going to look for is engine, ENGINE 1 fuel. So you can put engine 1, and it says set engine 1 fuel valve, and we're going to select that, and we're going to do engine 1, and there it is. It's scanning for it right now, and we're going to use this switch for that. We're going to make it a new airplane profile, And that new profile is just going to be calling engine. Call it whatever you want. Engine fuel. That's what I'm going to call it. We're going to save that right there. So that's number 2. So if we look for engine number 2 here, and it says set engine 2 fuel valve, we're going to click that and go engine number 2 fuel valve. And that's it. That should assign it right there. There you go. Number 3 is engine fuel valve. And then the last thing that we want to do is also parking brake. So go to parking brake, and we're going to do set parking brake. Now I'm not sure if it's going to be a toggle, a set, on and off, but we're going to try it and see anyway. B-R-A-K-E, parking brake. We're going to do it a set parking brake. Can't spell. There we go. That one. And we're going to use this switch for the parking brake switch. Switch number 1. There it is. So that's all set. Let's go back and save. Go back to the airplane and resume it and see if that makes it work. So we're looking at the switches and everything. Let's go fuel switch 1. That works. I just shut my engines down. So that's fuel switch 1. On and off. Fuel switch 2. Off. Off. My airplane is dying right now. And then the last thing was the parking brake. Alright, so now let's start looking at the parking brake specifically. Very important. In the iFly Max or the PMDG, you could set what's called realistic parking brake, where you have to engage the toe brakes in order to disengage the parking brake. And also you have to hold down the toe brakes to re-engage the parking brake. And you don't have to do it this way. You could do a simple version where the parking brake just goes on and on by toggling the switch, but I have it set realistically. So right now, if I wanted to disengage my parking brake, I'll press it in the sim and press it here, and it will disengage it right away. There it is. That's how to disengage the parking brake. I want to arm it. I just hold down the brake pedals in the sim and arm the parking brake, and everything is good. That's it. That's all you have to do. To disengage, I have to press down and also push this. Like in real life, you got to press and push. And like in real life, if I move this switch, it's not going to arm until I depress the brake pedals and arm it. But it works. Fuel cutoff switches work. Parking brake work. Simple setup in the sim. All right. So overall, what is my final verdict on the FlightSim factory fuel cutoff switch? I love it. First things first, the price is $120. It's available on the Etsy store. There will be a link in the description for this device. Also, it works with the 737, the 757, 767, 777, and the 787. The setup would be similar in X-Plane. If you're going to be using X-Plane, it's just a USB device that you assign the different switches to, including the cutoff switch we didn't assign today. I love the lights in it. The lights in it makes it look so nice and so pretty. I love the feel of the switches. They're actually very robust feeling. These are robust switches. These are not cheap switches, I can tell. Very, very robust in the way they work and feel, cut off and otherwise. The only thing missing would be a pull up to on and then pull up to off, but hey, that would be taking it a step far in my opinion. It is available on the Etsy website, as I said before. Work with all those airplanes. Is it worth 120 bucks? You be the judge. If I bought this myself, I would spend 120 bucks on it just to have the extra immersion that comes along with having a additional fuel cutoff switch and the parking brake panel. I've had one for the Airbus for a long time, and finally we got one for the Boeing, and I'll be using this thing from now onwards. I am pretty proud of how we have that mounted here in the sim. So take care, guys. XP out. I'll see you on another video. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.